We're starting today with a story which has caused quite a bit of controversy this week, a trailer for a BBC documentary which has been imported from America called The Trials of Oscar Pistorius was heavily criticised after failing to name his victim, his former girlfriend, Reeva Steenkamp. The BBC has since apologised and taken the trailer down. We're going to be hearing from Reeva's mother, June, who's live from her home in Port Elizabeth in South Africa. June, obviously continually difficult for you to talk about this, and I'm sure to view programmes like this, our condolences to you. What was your view on seeing the trailer?
Well, I'm just disturbed by no one saying anything, that she was the person who died. And I've got my foundation now, and I'm been working hard in saving women from gender-based violence. And it seems tragic that it didn't appear to be any. They just used her as the deceased again, which is happening also in the court. And she was the most wonderful person, also working against abuse before she died. In fact, the morning that she died, she was supposed to go to Santon High School and speak to the girls about respect and, you know, for the girls to know that they have to have respect from men. And that's something that is really lacking in the world today. So I feel very disappointed that they didn't speak about her and give her name. And it's quite upsetting for me. June, from that point of view.
Yes, of course. June, have you seen the documentary? Were you consulted about the documentary in any way?
No, not at all, not in any way.
And were you approached for any kind of comment, to be in it, to feature in it at all?
No, not at all, no.
I haven't seen it either, June, but I get the impression it's made by the American sports channel ESPN, and one thinks that maybe this is something aimed at sports fans rather than anything else. In other words, Oscar Pistorius is not regarded as a murderer in this. He's regarded as a supreme sports person.
Well, unfortunately for him, he was found to be a murderer. He is a murderer now. I wasn't allowed to say that before, but now I can, because when we went to the High Court, they found him guilty of murder with no remorse. And my attorney is telling me that I was consulted. I don't know to what extent. I don't remember anybody phoning me and asking me to be in this documentary, because otherwise we've had documentaries from America, and the woman insinuated that I'd done the whole thing with her, and I knew nothing about it. And what's more, it was a terrible, disgusting mess, the whole movie. It didn't have the quality that I would want for something that my daughter was involved in.
Yeah. And yet, throughout all of this, and because he has been ultimately found guilty of murder, you still find it in your heart to forgive him.
Long ago, I forgave him. Long ago, during the court case, I forgave him. It was known publicly that I forgave him, but only because I'm a Christian and I have to forgive. And I didn't want to go through my life full of hate for him, so it was God expected me to forgive him, and I did that. So I don't know if this has got anything to do with anything, but I just want to know who said that why they don't speak about Reeva, and why don't they see her as the wonderful person that she was. You know, that the foundation is in the Reeva Steenkamp Foundation, and it's in her name because I just took over from her. And I feel disappointed and almost insulted by them not mentioning her name. And with the amount of gender-based violence that's going on, this is a bad message out to people that she's a nobody, that her life was worth nothing. Her life was worth everything. She was working against all kinds of gender-based violence, and also for children. We have a foundation against the abuse of children and women. So how can she not be mentioned as the person who died? Because it would badly reflect maybe on the documentary. That is what I'm thinking. But that's why I'm speaking to you today, to find out why people are in uproar there in England because of our situation here in South Africa. There's a woman murdered in South Africa through gender-based every 3 hours. So why don't they talk about Reeva when they're doing a documentary about Oscar? Why? Because they don't want it to reflect on him. It's all, there's nothing mentioned about what he's done, actually. I don't doubt that, he did wonderfully with no legs, winning races and things like that. And he became almost, how can I say, an icon, for what he'd done. I don't take that away from him. But he's taken my daughter away from me. And from what good work.
Do you think that was reflected in the sentence? Because eventually, Reeva was murdered 6 years ago, right? And then 3 years ago, Pistorius' sentence was increased. He was found guilty of murder. But as I understand it, he got 15 years minus time already served. 15 years for taking your daughter's life, for murdering. The court have decided he murdered your daughter. 15 years. Is that a just sentence?
No. But it's not going to matter to me how long he's in jail. He has to pay for what he's done. That's all I said. Forgave him because of my belief in God, and he would expect me to do that. And why must I hate this person for the rest of my life and maybe get sick? Because I know of people whose children have been murdered and they just get ill from, just wanting revenge or whatever. It's a freedom. It's a freedom for me just to get on with my life and do some good. And I want to save other children, other women, other daughters. We have to look after our daughters. We have to protect them. And I go to schools and I speak about that and encourage the children to, because their mothers and fathers are the ones who will always have that love for them. And they can go to them when they're in trouble. And there's so much bullying at schools and things like that. And those bullying people are people who turn out to be the killers, the murderers, because they've been abused as children. And that's what we have to do, is protect our children.
And June,
protect our daughters.
Yeah, and you're doing all that in your daughter Reeva's name with the Reeva Steenkamp Foundation. What do you think she would make of you continuing with her foundation and her work?
I have a feeling that she is now resting in peace, and she's very, very happy with the situation. She's probably very proud of me for carrying on. But I mean, imagine if she would have lived. She would have been an absolutely wonderful person. I went to Johannesburg University and I spoke to them about Oscar, and they seemed to feel that they could transfer their confidence to me because they loved Reeva. They still speak about her. We get lots of phone calls and people coming to see us, Well, so
your love shines through as well, obviously keeping her memory alive. June, really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
No, it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much indeed. The BBC have removed the original trailer following the criticism, and they say, "We regret the original trail did not refer to Reeva Steenkamp directly. We're aware of the upset it's caused. It was never the intention. We've removed the trail. It will be replaced by something more representative of the series, which examines in detail a number of complex issues connected with her murder."
Also, I must just point out that the filmmaker of that documentary, Daniel Gordon, has been in touch and said they did approach the Steenkamp family and the family declined to take part in the documentary, he says.